account.
Okay. Okay. All right, everybody, welcome. So the reason why we are having this training specifically on transition is because this year we had a lot of issues because we had a lot of first-time leaders, and that was not the issue. The issue is that they were first-time leaders during the pandemic, which means that for people like Jackie and Lauren and Sarah and I, who have been leaders for a long time and pre-pandemic, and we've been to the office, we know what to do, but like it didn't occur to us to tell certain things to other people. So we are hoping that sharing some of these tips to get you through the next 2 months will help you feel a little bit more confident in what you're doing, and also will help you so that you're organized and so that you're not running into a lot of the big problems that we had this year later on. I'm going to start sharing my screen. Actually, first I'm going to find the correct link and then I will share my screen, because you're gonna laugh at me when you see how many tabs I have open. It's really embarrassing. I should not talk to myself so much because we're recording.
Love you.
Thank you. Okay. Can you all see this? I'm thinking I might keep it like this so I can see. I put speaker notes and I don't think I can see them when I go in the.
You won't be able to.
Okay, so I'm going to keep it like this. All right, transition training. Exactly what I just said. So we will move along. First off, though, I want to introduce my partner in crime here, Jackie Siska, Director at Large. She's going to be kind of helping me out today because she is also familiar with running big committees that have lots of moving parts, and she has a lot of really good tips for you. So first off, welcome to leadership. We are so happy that you have decided to step up. You're amazing. You are really what makes the league go round. And on a personal note, I believe I'm a 7-year active. I don't know, I'm 7 or 8 years. And every year that I've been active, I've been in leadership. And I love it because that is how I have made all of my friends in the league. And I love the fact that I get to be a decision maker for the league, and I get to move us forward in a direction that like I really want to see us go towards. So for all of these reasons, I am delighted that you have decided to join us. So thank you. Another thing that I want to talk about here briefly is that when you're a leader, you're not just about the work that your committee needs to do. You are also a rep for the league, and you're a person that the people on your committee are looking to for information. They're looking to follow your lead for connecting to other members. So whether that's getting a monthly meeting on the calendar and always having an icebreaker, getting people talking to each other, whatever it is that you're doing, that is also a part of being a leader. So we don't want it to be a situation of all work and no play. There's definitely room to make it somewhat fun and to make sure that you're really building those connections with the people on your committee. So I don't want you to feel like you are responsible for everyone's good time. It's not about that. Like you can only take people's, and there's my cat, you can only take people so far and they have to do the rest of the work. But as a leader, we really want you to remember that, yes, you're doing the work, you're doing good stuff, but you're also taking everybody along with you. Oh my gosh, she's like, this cat's going to be the death of me. Jackie, do you have anything to add before I move to the next slide?
Yeah, I was thinking about what you just said, and I, as a previously a committee vice chair and chair, and not like a super rah-rah cheerleader type of personality, I could see how even this part can be a little daunting. And that's okay. You don't have to be like clappy, yay, let's all like sing kumbaya together, but you could still be there for people, and you can still allow all of them to be what they want to be within the league. So I just wanted to say that, like, not to worry about that part. You don't have to be like super cheery and happy, but you could be, help people along.
I couldn't find the mute button. Very well said. Thank you. Lauren or Sarah, since we have you here, is there anything that you would like to add to that?
Sure. I mean, I agree with both of the points that y'all, or all the points that both of y'all have said. One thing that I like to always remind myself and any committee that I've been a part of is that we do serious things, so we don't have to take ourselves too seriously either. We all want to be here and we're all here to support each other. So if you don't know how to do something, it's a-okay. We'll figure it out together.
Yes, and I would say that I feel like the role of president is a bit of that cheerleader role. So if sometimes you feel like you're not cheerleading, either that's not your thing, or you just have tried everything and your group is just not feeling it, like call on your bench, ask for Jen or Sarah or Jackie or I to come and, you know, give some rah-rah speeches, and we're there to help too. So know that if there are roles that either you're not comfortable playing or you're having trouble getting across, that there are people here to back you up.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so we're gonna move right along, and basically the goal of tonight, I think I mentioned this earlier, is we want to help you get through the next 2 months. So where do you start? In an ideal world, you are going to set up a meeting with the chair and the vice chair and the manager that are already in place, and you're going to receive a transition document. Now, I say that's an ideal world because it doesn't happen a lot. And there are all sorts of circumstances. Sometimes people are going sustainer, they're a little bit checked out at the end of the year. Maybe they've moved, whatever the situation. If they have not reached out to you already, definitely feel free to bug them and get that information because you need it. And you also want to make sure that you're asking them for their contact information. How are you going to reach them, you know, in 4 months? Maybe you haven't thought of every single question that you're going to need and something comes up later. You want to be able to get in touch with them and get the right information. The other thing I would also highly recommend, beyond just the chair and the vice chair, ask them who on the committee was the rock star this year. And the reason why is because a lot of times people will stay on the same committee for many years. Like I was on Dine In Today for most of my time. Jackie will tell you she was mostly with Northwest Art. So there are people that will stay year after year, and those are the people that you really want to look to help you because they will have that institutional knowledge, and they're also the people that are invested. Like they really care about this, they want to help you. Get those names. Very important. This is the next thing, is the most important. If you're taking notes, please like underline it and highlight it, whatever you need to do. Ask for access, permission, login, anything for any of the Google Drives, the Dropbox accounts, any email accounts that they may have started up. Copy all of this info, download it, and put it in your current group share, which I'm going to show you, give you a little tour of later. The reason why is because I would say in the time since I joined the league, Google Drive especially has become huge. When I first started, we only had the group share, and we did not have all these sharing tools. And I feel like I'm aging myself a lot right now. I'm a dinosaur. But now that we do have all these tools that make our lives so much easier, one issue that we are running into is that people are not always passing that on, or sometimes things get lost. Jackie can tell you about the time that somebody deleted the Northwest Art Google Drive. Actually, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I was thinking about that because I personally find the group share like kind of difficult to navigate. I think that's the hardest part, is that being able to find the right document and then, or upload the right, it's a little difficult at first, maybe because it's so arcane looking versus like Google Drive, which is so like drop this here. Okay. Which we're all kind of used to at this point. That's yes, Northwest Art while I was manager. Was that just 2 years ago? I don't remember when it happened.
It was
but
your
somebody
chair.
that was like 3 chairs ago just was cleaning out their Google Drive, and they had, you know, a bunch, you know, when you get those emails from Google and it says like you have too much memory, and you're like, I'm just going to delete this. And she just deleted the drive, the whole thing. And we had to scramble to, one, even realize who did it. And two, then I had to call her and be like, you have to bring it back. And then we couldn't figure out how she could transfer it. It's kind of a mess. But if everything had just been on group share or somewhere that can't just randomly be deleted by somebody, then at least we would be able to then pull it to whatever you want to use and then upload it back up. So yes, that is, Northwest Art happens to have an enormous historical long-term Google Drive. So this was a really big deal. But she also is a sustainer and didn't want to be solely responsible for keeping all of the information. So you don't want that to end up like that either, that you're the person responsible for everything, even though you're not even in that group anymore. So yeah, that was a mess.
Yeah. So basically the point that we want you to take from this is it's totally fine to use all of these tools, but any super important documents, just make sure that by the end of the league year, before you transition on, that you download a copy, put it in the group share. As I said before, I'm going to show you the group share. There is a really handy little trick where you can toggle the years. And for anyone, I think I saw a done in a day person on the call. You could go back to 2017, I think was the year. That was the year that I was chair, and you can see every single document because I was psycho about it. So please back everything up. I am now going to show you an example of a transition document. Bear with me one second. Okay. So this is the transition document that I made last year for Amy, who took over my role as the community projects manager. Now, I'm also going to show you the template, and hopefully you've already received, I think I sent it out actually. Hopefully you've already received this. And if you are currently a leader, please fill that out. If you are an incoming leader, make sure that you have received this. If you have not, contact the manager who is currently in charge, and they will talk you through it, hopefully either get it for you or tell you when it will be available. But the things that are really important to look for are, you just kind of have this list of the different responsibilities, all of the things that you can expect. And then the thing that I think is the most important is this section here, where we have basically a calendar for the year. Now, in a couple of minutes, I'm going to show you an example of a work plan. You're all going to get a work plan at the leadership retreat, and that's going to be all the things that we want you to shoot for in terms of your committee work this year. Now, whenever people get these work plans, they freak out because they're like, this is a lot of information. This is a lot of stuff I have to do. This is terrifying. It's not, because as you can see, there are things that you do during certain points in the year. So like Touch a Truck, for instance, they didn't have their event until May. So they had an entire year where they had different things that they had to do per month. So you're not doing everything all at once. Just remember that. You want to break it down into little pieces. And then the next section, I want you to pay particular attention to resources. So this is an area that is great for putting in the different links to any Google Drives or Dropboxes or whatever. So that is what a transition document should look like when it has been completed. And here is what it will look like. Can you see that? Did it change? Okay, perfect. Here is what it will look like when you go ahead and do this at the end of next year. You'll make a copy of this, and then you'll save it to your group share, and you will also give it to your manager, who will save it as well. Okay, let's go back to this. Can you see the slides now? Okay, cool. All right, so actually first, before we get into the questions, does anybody have a question right now? We've just thrown a bit of information at you.
That looks pretty. Not bad, right? Yeah. For a rookie.
Okay, we will continue on. So, questions that you should ask the outgoing team. So these were just a couple that I thought of, but Jackie, Lauren, Sarah, if you have any, jump in. What were the major projects that the committee did this year, and when did you do them? That goes back to what I was saying before. You want to know when your major, if you have a major event, you want to know when that is. Here is the biggest one that we're going to talk about a couple of times. What were obligations that committee members had to complete to receive credit? I really want to highlight this one because this was the thing that was lost in communication this year. So we had a fair number, as I said, we had a fair number of new leaders, and they did not know that to receive credit for your committee placement, you have a certain job that you're doing on your committee. So I'm going to give the example of Done in a Day because that was the one that I worked with the most. You had to go to it was either 7 or 8 committee meetings throughout the year. And you also had to plan and lead 3 service shifts. Now, there were also flexible options. There were some people that, traveled for work, so they couldn't, this was like, pre-Zoom days. They traveled for work, so they couldn't necessarily be there to do their thing. I had like a database project for them. There has to be something that the committee members are responsible for in the year. And the reason why is because it was more than one committee, but there is one committee in particular that I am thinking about who they did not realize they were supposed to do this. And committee members did not help them this year. They did not show up at meetings. Like they would have like maybe 3 or 4 people out of like 15 come to their meetings. And then the chair ended up doing all of the work. You do not want that to happen to you. It's horrible for you, and it's not a good experience for them because it's like, what are you even like, why are you in the organization if you're not going to take some ownership of it? So please make sure that you talk to the outgoing team about what the obligations were. You can change them. They don't have to be exactly the same. That is especially something that we're dealing with right now. So like when I was the chair of Done in a Day, we did 110 shifts per year. And so we had about, I think we had 35 people on the committee. Fast forward to now, they had about 50 service shifts. So like less than half. And it's just different, right? There's only, I think, Lauren, do you remember the numbers for next year? I think there's like between 10 and 15 people on Done in a Day next
15
year.
or 17. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the bigger committees, but it's still fewer than 20.
Yeah. So with 15 people doing 50 service shifts, you don't have to do 3 service shifts. You can change that. And so we want you to know that as chair, as vice chair, you get to decide on what is equitable between your committee and also talk to them and find out what is feasible for them to do. The last thing that I would really recommend is to ask them what they would have done differently. Every single chair or vice chair is going to have one thing at least that they would have done differently. You want to know what that is so that you don't do that. And that's where I'm going to pause. Does anybody have any questions to add to that?
I think it's helpful to also ask them how they structured their committee meetings. Like you said, you don't have to always do something the same way. But if there are people that have been on the committee in the past, and if there was an easy way to actually just do the regular committee meeting, like that could be really helpful too, especially if you have never run a committee before and you don't even know where to start. Someone knows where to start. Ask them. And typically, as a chair or even vice chair, you run the meeting and it has an agenda. Just like any meeting that you would go to for work, you run it the same. You have an agenda, you send it out, and you try to follow it because you want to make sure you respect everybody's time. Like we all go to a lot of meetings, whether it be during the day or at night or on the weekends, whatever we're doing. So, keep time, make sure you have the agenda set, and and just be very clear about obligations and have a lot of follow-up. I know we're going to talk about tracking everything. I didn't know what slide that's in, but it's in big letters. This is something that you have to figure out how to do because who knows if people have actually done all of their committee obligations if no one's tracking it. And you want to make that as easy as possible for yourself. You want to have somebody take down all the, maybe you have like a vice chair or you are like kind of like the secretary of the meeting and you write everything down, make sure you're dividing up everything so that no one feels overloaded, but you actually get all the information that you need and you tell all the information you want to tell. Another good reason for an agenda.
Absolutely. Thank you for adding that. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so next item, meet with your full team. You'll notice that I did not just say team, I said meet with your full team. One time I made the mistake of only talking to the chair of a committee when I was a manager. Oh my God, the song of her people. That was a mistake because we ended up having issues with the chair. She ended up stepping down and I had no relationship with the vice chairs. I didn't have any idea what was going on with the committee. And I would have known that had I included everyone. Always include everyone because you never know, people have things that happen during the year. Now, you want to do this as soon as you are able to, because you want to start figuring out what your boundaries are. You want to share information about, that you're going to be gone in October, and that's when the community partner meetings are. So you're not going to be able to do that. Tell your team up front what your schedule is, what your boundaries are. You don't answer the phone after 7 p.m., like whatever it is, tell them that. And if you are on a committee that does not currently have a chair, and there's quite a few this year, I have confidence that we will fill those positions. But if you do not currently have a chair, please include Sarah, the EVP, because she will help facilitate that in the interim. And if not her, then one of the managers will also help. Let's see. Already kind of touched on this, but discuss what roles you want to each take on. A lot of committees have work streams, and so it usually is good for each person to take on a different work stream. Whatever it is, whatever the task is that you're agreeing to, just make sure that everybody is on the same page about it. You also want to figure out a time that you can meet as a leadership team. Back in the days of yore, when I was chairing committees, we would usually just have, maybe an hour, we would get there an hour before everybody for our full committee meeting, and we would just talk there. Whatever you want to do is fine, but communicate your schedule, let people know your availability. If there are horrible things happening in your life, tell people. And you don't have to share all of your business if you don't want to, but let people know because they want to help you. I think most people on this call probably know, 2 years ago, I had cancer. That sucks. But you know what, I called Jackie and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do here. And she was like, you know what, you do what you can and we will pick up the slack. And I thank you, Jackie. I have never forgotten that. And I appreciate you and I love you. But this is what we're talking about. These are the relationships that you're fostering. We want you to succeed. We want you to be a member. We want you here. So whatever is going on in your life, just tell us because we want to help you. And that being said, don't be a ghost. That is the worst thing you could possibly be. If, a horrible thing is happening in your life, you get cancer and then you just don't tell anybody, that's not great because not only is the work not getting done, but we're also worried about you. So please do not ghost. Would anyone else like to add anything to that?
Please do not ghost. Jen does not like ghosts.
I don't like
she likes ghosts in her
she does. Jen
professional
really
life.
likes
She
ghosts.
likes
She
ghosts in her
ghosting.
professional life. She
Yeah.
does.
I'm kind of spooky and a Victorian ghost, really, but I don't like other ghosts.
Yeah, no, I ditto everything that Jackie and Jen said, that I am going to be your biggest helper if you come to me and say you can't do something and you need help. If I don't hear from you for 3 weeks, that's when my Scorpio side's going to come out and I am going to put you on that list and it's going to be bad. So don't ghost, reach out. We're here to help you. We're not going to get upset if you ask us for help. We are going to get upset if we don't hear from you for 4 weeks and then we have to do it. That's when we get upset.
And also
do we talk about the LRFs in a different slide? I don't remember.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that at length. But I just want to underscore what Lauren just said. Like, she's going to be the president next year, and like, you have a direct line to her. You can email her, you can talk to her. Like, all of us, we are here for
Don't call
you.
me though. I don't answer the phone.
She doesn't answer the phone, so don't call her.
Don't call me.
But we are all here for you. Let's move on to the next slide. Work plans. Okay, so here's how work plans get created. So Sarah is in charge of management council, and the managers are actually the ones that are going to kind of think about all of the things that we tried to accomplish last year. They're going to think about what worked and what didn't work. And then they're going to put forth different goals that we would like for you to hit this year. Now, one thing that I told committees over and over again, and they were still anxious about it, is that these are they're aspirational. Okay. Like, we're not going to be upset if you don't hit every single thing. We just want to see that you're trying and, like, hit most of your goals. But it's like, sometimes we're too ambitious, and, like, sometimes things don't get done. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. You are going to,
sorry, just to jump in quickly. I just say it's also not binary. Like, it's not necessarily like you did it or you didn't do it. Like, maybe sometimes it's, we explored this, it wasn't an option for XYZ, so we did this instead. So like, it doesn't have to be binary either, in that either you check the box or you don't. Like, again, it comes down to communication, and I know, as Jackie said, we'll talk about LRFs and where you can communicate that stuff, but they're not, chiseled in stones. There's definitely, they're a little squishy.
Yeah. And like, this year we had a committee that, I think one of the things was like a training curriculum or something like that. And it wasn't possible to get it done, but they started researching it. Like, hey, box checked, that was fine. So yeah, exactly what Lauren just said. It's squishy. There's room to do other things if needed. And usually we explore this again in January. That's when we have the mid-year leadership retreat. And that is your opportunity to really talk to everybody on the board and on management council and say, hey, we can't do this and we would like to do something else, or we finished everything, what should we do now? Like, those are different things that can happen, but not set in stone. We can update things if needed. So just don't worry about it. Don't be upset if it's super ambitious. Like, we just want you to do the best that you can. When you receive this at the leadership retreat, which, Sarah, can you remind me of the date of the leadership retreat?
Yes, the 18th, that on Saturday morning.
Thank you. So June 18th is when you're going to have the leadership retreat. They're going to talk about some of the stuff that we're talking about right now, but not go in as great a detail as we are right now. But you will have time at the leadership retreat to meet the other people that you're going to be working with, your chairs and vice chairs and your manager. And that's where you're going to get your work plan and kind of start mapping your year out based on what you receive. So now I'm going to show you an example of a work plan. So again, I'm using Dyad because that's what I have the most familiarity with, and you can see this, right? I don't trust my technology skills, so I'm just going to keep doing that, even though it's annoying. Okay, so this is what a work plan looks like. Sarah, are you keeping them like this next year, or are you going to do a different format? Okay, so this is what it's going to look like again, but you'll just have different goals in your boxes. So up here is just like basic committee information about who the leaders are and all that kind of stuff. If you are a committee that has revenue goals, that will appear here. Whatever your budget is going to appear right there. And then down here, we've got a box for key deliverables and deadlines. And then this is what you have to do to show us that you accomplished it. So for Done in a Day, their thing was to plan and execute 70 service shifts. And that was the completion evidence, was that there were 70. They were not able to do 70, and that was fine because that was what our league needed, and that was okay. And we also have the people that are responsible for each of the items in these two boxes. So this is generally what your work plan is going to look like. And down here, you will see metrics. Now, the metrics appear in the leadership reporting form, which we are going to talk about in a little bit. We have a whole slide for that. And these are the things that Done in a Day is supposed to track because we need this information for planning purposes and figuring out how many service shifts we're going to do per year based on, you know, people that come, people that no show, whatever it is. So any questions on work plans or anything to add? Jackie, I saw you go off mute.
Did go off mute. For our board committee this year, because when you're on the board, you don't just sit on the board, you're also on a committee. And so one of my committees was community committee. And so we also have a work plan, and we took our work plan and like expanded it, I guess I would say. So it made it much easier to follow along. Like you have all this, and this is in a Word doc, which I find difficult. We put it in Excel, and then we added to it, and we, like our own. So we knew where we were on each thing. Like, when did we expect to hit this goal? What were we doing? Who on the committee was actually working on it? Like on here, you have like who's responsible for it, but like all dyad members, but really you could like break it down if you wanted to, like who's going to exactly do what, and have everybody kind of fill it in and be like, this is red, this is yellow, this is green, this is where we are, this is how we're going to hit it. So you can kind of track along the way how exactly you're doing with this. So you're not just looking at this work plan every month and being like, what did we even do? It's just an easier way for me to visually see what we're doing.
All right, any questions on work plans? Okay, I'm gonna close these so that I know that I've already talked about them. Okay. All right, next.
You have a lot of tabs.
I have so many tabs and I have to keep them open, otherwise I'll forget about them. Okay, coming back to the committee obligations, I told you, so important. So one of the first things you need to do after you talk to your fellow leaders and you figure out how you're going to break up the work between yourselves and what you're going to ask the committee to do, you got to decide what the obligations are going to be for your committee members. And like I said before, this is really going to help you get people to participate and to have everything so that it's equitable. Like I said before, I think in the past, the standard has usually been 7 or 8 meetings that each member needs to attend per year. And the reason for that is just participation. Like that's, if you only come to 3 committee meetings, you're not going to have any idea what's going on. And we have lots of tools now, so you can, it's up to you. Like if you want to do virtual or in person, talk to your committee members, like see what they're comfortable with. But we have a lot of tools now so that we can meet members where they are. And like I was saying before, it's really important to have other options for people that have work, life, or family obligations, or, like when I was sick, like I needed to do things differently. What kind of projects can you come up with that would fit that need for them? So is it a database for them to maintain? Is there something for them to research? Maybe they could be the person that does social media posts for the committee, which is something that we need to be better about doing. And I already told you, so for done in a day, the obligations were 7 or 8 committee meetings, and then they had to plan 3 service shifts. Jackie, can you talk a little bit about what Northwest Art had to do?
Oh yeah. Same thing though. Also a very big committee. Northwest Art was, you had to come to a certain amount of committee meetings. You had to plan a league-wide event, usually about the art. Could have been one of yours. You had to pick from like an array of different topics. Like you could plan something social, or you could plan something with a community partner, or you could do something else, but you had to do at least one of those things. And you also had to docent at a meeting, which was one of the best parts about the meeting, is that 3 people would get up right at the beginning and docent one of our pieces of art, which was super cool. A great way to learn how to docent, a great way to learn about all the pieces in the project, and just kind of a good way to like get to know each other and work on your presentation skills. Obviously much more fun in person, but still do it over the interwebs and Zoom. You know, aside from that, you know, I would say in most committees, there's usually like 3 things you need to do to be an active committee member. And if you can make that happen, then that's great.
Just moving my computer because my cat started giving herself a bath in the background. All right, setting up your committee. So, all right, you have talked to your new leaders. You've had a meeting with the outgoing leaders, so you know what your committee needs to do. Now it's June 1st. It's time to email your new committee. And like I said, you want to do this the first week of June because people are excited. They want to hear from you. They want to know what they're going to be up to this year. They want to plan. If you wait past like even the second week of June, people start getting antsy and you will definitely hear from people. They will email you and be like, what is happening?
Can I ask
yeah.
a question?
Please do.
So since we're not even having the leadership retreat until mid-June, how would we go forward with some of this work? Sorry, I'm just.
No, that's a great question. I would say that what you want to do is meet with your leadership team first, like figure out all of like how you want to do things, and also have that transition meeting with the outgoing team, because that's going to give you an idea of what things to do. You might not know all of your goals, but you'll at least have knowledge about how it worked in the past. Although, wait, are you on the brand new committee? I feel like maybe you're.
I believe I'm in nominating. I believe.
Okay.
I didn't get an email yet to say anything, but I believe when Kim talked to me, I believe that's what it was.
Okay. I thought for some reason I thought you were on the new committee. But yeah, so you'll want to have the meeting with the outgoing committee, and they're going to give you an idea of what's going to happen. And the leadership retreat is like the third week of June, but that doesn't mean that you can't still talk to your brand new committee first and just be like, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what we're thinking. Let's start talking about how we're going to work together. And the way that I like to do this is with a survey. And the survey is kind of an opportunity for you to give them a say in when the meeting is going to be. We strongly recommend that you choose the same day of the month every month for your meetings. If you have like different days every month, or you're trying to schedule, it's really hard. If you just decide like, first Tuesday of the month, we are meeting, you can get in touch with whoever is going to be in charge of organizing rooms at the office if you want to have in-person meetings. And then that way you would have your room reserved for you every single month. For those of you who have joined during the pandemic, we met every month, and there was always a ton of people at the office. And if you didn't reserve a room, that was bad because you might show up and somebody else was having a meeting. So now that we're kind of starting to get back to that, you're going to see that start to happen. So if you are meeting in person at the office, please just make sure that you talk to the person about that. I'm getting really far ahead of myself though. Back to the survey. So the survey is your chance to find out when the committee is going to be meeting, what people's availability is, also what their interests are. Like I was saying earlier, you're probably going to have at least a couple of people that have been on the committee before, and they have an idea of something that they really like to work on. They will tell you that. So that is your opportunity to do that. I also think that it's a really good practice right now to also ask people what their comfort level is with different COVID protocols. We have some members that don't want to meet in person at all. We have some members that want to meet in person, but they want everyone to wear a mask. You want to find out that information before you actually start meeting, so that, again, it can be equitable for everyone. We also encourage hybrid options. So if your committee decides that they want to do in-person meetings, please have a way for people who don't want to come in person for them to call in. So it used to be that we just had people call in. Now, obviously you've got the Zoom option, so you could have like one computer set up that they could Zoom in from, however you want to do it. So this is all the information that you're communicating out in this first email to your committee. And I'm going to show you in a little bit how to find their names. and just let them know that you will talk to them soon about what their obligations are going to be and what the final meeting date is. Let me share. Hang on, I gotta find it. 1 second. Okay. So this coming year, I am going to be chairing the Centennial Task Force. So this is the survey that I just sent out to the people that are going to be on the task force with me. Ask for either their name or their email, because you do not want a situation where you don't ask for their name, because then afterwards you're like, who wrote this? I have no idea. Ask for either a name or an email. And then for me, I can really only meet with people for junior league stuff next year on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Those are the days that I'm available. So those are the options that I gave them. Then I ask them which week of the month works best for them. And then I also gave a couple of times. And then here's the COVID question that I was talking about. What are your meeting preferences? Are you going to do virtual, in person? Do you want to do hybrid, whatever? So far, everybody has said hybrid, which I thought was interesting, because I specifically set hybrid to mean that we would be meeting virtual, but we would have an in-person social. So just my anecdotal findings there for you. I also let them know, what did I just do? I also let them know what work streams there are, and this is an opportunity for them to tell me what they want to work on. You could, if you don't know what your work streams are yet, you could just say, like, you could have a short answer box where it's like, just tell me like what you're interested in next year. So if you're like on annual fundraisers, like they're interested in working on the wine walk or on Luna Fest, whatever it is, that's the opportunity for them to say that. And then last, I had a section for anything else that people want to communicate to me. I thought that people were going to have a lot of COVID stuff, but not really. People were mostly just telling me what they wanted to work on. I had one person who was like, I want to work on parties. And I was like, great, you do that. So that is the survey. I used a Google form, and as you can see, like the response thing is right here. So I can just see how everybody has been responding, and it's all right there. It's very easy. It's so much easier than like when I first started in leadership. Like, technology is just amazing, guys. Any other questions on committee setup?
Amiko, hopefully I said your name correctly. I wanted to circle back to your question. A lot of committees are kind of the same every year. So when you're setting up, like, maybe your first meeting could really be like, this is how this is going to go. We might not have like exactly what everybody's going to do, but we all want to meet. So maybe it could be more of a social. We're all going to meet. Let's talk about what we want out of our league year. Why did you pick this committee? You could do something like that, so everybody feels really connected. You send out the survey, you do all that stuff. And then after the leadership retreat, then your next meeting could be like, this is what we got to do. So they're like teed up to be super excited, and then you're like, okay, everybody, let's make this a working meeting and get your plan done and figure out what everybody's going to do from there. You don't have to make a lot. And I would also say, like, there are some committees that have to start right away, like they already have stuff that people are working on now that they're just going to dump over to you, for better or worse. But there are a lot of committees that don't like really start until September. So you could also, use the summer for setup, but it just depends on what meeting or what committee that you're on.
That makes a lot of sense though. But yeah, because I've been for a few years, so that makes more sense. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, definitely recommend the June meeting can definitely be more social. That's how we've always done it in the past. It's usually just like getting to know each other. And then like July is like really when you get to work with stuff. So thank you for clarifying that, Jackie. Moving right along. Okay, so meetings and emails. We kind of already started talking about this, but the league year starts June 1. And the reason why I want to make that clear is because committees really need to meet every single month. And like I said before, on the same day is preferable because it makes it easier for people to remember. The reason, like, we're not trying to be strict about it, it's really to help you, because we had a committee this year that didn't understand that, and their event was in the spring, and they did not have their first committee meeting until like November, and then their chair stepped down, and so by January they were in chaos. So you really need to start as soon as possible. Like we said, like June can be, just a fun social, and then over the summer start, the business of your committee. I would also say that from my experience done in a day, it usually took me all summer to get everybody on the committee up to speed about what they had to do. And that's because, people during the summer, people are traveling and whatever. So if you don't meet during those months, it's really detrimental for you, because you're going to be behind and then you're going to be stressed out. You want to at least have communication lines open. And again, like, it's not just about the work. Remember, like, our members are here because they want to meet other people and have connections with them. So even if you're just hanging out socially, like, this is their connection to the league. So you want to foster those opportunities for them. You have all seen by now that I write very long emails. They're very long because I like to give people all of the information. I tell chairs every single year, one of the most helpful things you can do is a monthly newsletter that you send to your committee. It's not really a newsletter, it's just an email. And I'm going to show you an example. But the reason why it's so helpful is because it's an opportunity for you to tell them everything that's going on the committee. And so, like, for Done in a Day, for example, I would know that we had, 5 service shifts coming up, and one of them doesn't have a lead, and I need somebody to jump in and lead that shift. So that email was an opportunity for me to ask for help from people, even if it wasn't, their obligation or it wasn't their task to work on. That way we all were on the same page and knew what was going on and could ask each other for help. It's also a great way to show people or to tell people about, maybe leadership applications just opened up or something like that. So you want to let them know. So you are definitely one of the major points of contact between the management council and the rest of the committees. So it's so important for you. Again, like, you don't have to be crazy like me and like write like a super long email if you don't want to. But I will say that out of all of the years that I've told people to do this, I think that I know of only one committee has listened to me, and they were amazing. Like, her emails, they were just wonderful. She would send them to me, and that was donor relations this year. They were just so wonderful because they had all of the information there, and everybody on their committee knew exactly what they needed to do. There was no confusion. Jackie, while I get the newsletter up, do you want to talk any more about any of these topics?
Oh, I'm all about the LRF.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to get
the same thing as the newsletter to me.
It is, yeah.
Because once you're writing the newsletter, you already wrote your LRF.
Exactly. Oh, you know what? I forgot to give everybody, here's the Google sheet to get credit for this training. Sorry about that. That's the sign-in sheet. I just put it in the chat.
I definitely need more training.
Okay. I believe I was looking for the newsletter. Hang on one second.
Sorry, just a quick note. Can the Google Sheet be emailed out too? I'm unfortunately having to call in from my car. This is Kyla.
Oh, just tell us your name and we'll add you.
Yeah. Great. This is Kyla Pagoni.
Thank you. Jackie, can you add her to the list? Share screen. Okay. All right. So as you can see here, Saturday, June 11, 2016, when I was just a wee little junior league baby, this was the first email that I sent to Done in a Day, and I did a little introduction. I told them what done in a day was. So I was the chair after I had been the vice chair. So I already knew what the committee obligations were. So I was able to tell them. If you don't know, that's okay. You can tell them in the next month. After that, this is what I was talking about before too, with the action items. I said, fill out this survey. And then I also gave them the meeting. I also had right here the shift lead opportunities. So that was my asking for help area. I also I found another one that I thought was pretty decent. So as you can see in December, look at how many service shifts we used to do in Done in a Day in December. It was a lot. I remember one year we had like 19, so many. So this right here, if you see the link to this Google Sheet, that was my first Google Sheet ever in 2016. Isn't that cute? So that was like when I first started to learn how to collaborate with people. And instead of having everybody email me, they just signed up. It was wonderful. So moving on from there, this is kind of an example of other information that's not just Done in a Day specific. So something that was happening on my committee was people were buying things for service shifts and then they were not submitting check requests to get reimbursed. You want to do that. You want to get your money back. So I let them know right there. And then I also told, there we go right there, leadership applications. So these are all just like different things that you can share with your committee to help them have a good experience in the junior league and so that they know exactly what they need to do for your committee. I also like to do shout outs at the end of every email just to, just want to acknowledge people. I want them to know that they're doing a great job. All right. Get back to the slides. Any questions? Okay. All right, collaborating together. As we've said, you use whatever productivity tools that you want to use that work best for you. If that's a Google Drive, if it's a Dropbox, if it's Slack, I don't care what you use. Just make sure that by the end of the year, any super important documents, you save them to the group share so that we have them in years to come. Track everything. You want to track every single thing. You don't know how important it might end up being later. So back to the Done in a Day example, we need to know how many people are no-showing for events because maybe we don't do that type of event anymore. Maybe we don't want to put our energy into it if people don't come to it, right? So any kind of information like that is definitely stuff that you want to track. I also think that it's very helpful to track committee member obligations. Now, the way you can do it privately, where you just have like your own Google Sheet where you just mark off that the person came to X number of meetings and they planned their service shift if you're on Done in a Day, and you just mark that off. Fine. Another thing that I have done, and I know that one of our current board members, she loves to talk about this. She had a tracking sheet that had all this information that she would bring to meetings. And so like everybody would be able to see how everybody is doing. You can do that if you want to. It's not supposed to be a shaming thing. It's more just as a tool so that people see what they need to catch up on. However you want to do it is fine. Mostly I see people do it in Excel documents, but you definitely want to do that because that way at the end of the year, when somebody from membership reaches out to you and says, hey, does this person on your committee get credit? You can look on that sheet and be like, yes, they get credit because they did all the things that they were supposed to. Sometimes you'll realize that you have a member who you haven't heard from in a bit and you didn't even realize it. And that is an opportunity for you to give them a call, make sure that they're okay. This happens on every committee every year. You're going to have at least one person who doesn't respond to you. You need to make a good faith effort to reach out to them. And then if they're still not responding to you, let the active advisor know. So we don't want you to like try to, oh, sorry. Did somebody say something? Okay. you don't need to be a hard ass. Like, that's not what we're asking you to do. But just tracking all of this information will just make your life easier. We also, throughout the year, and especially on your LRFs, we ask for certain metrics. And if you are tracking them, it's going to be so easy because you're just going to look at your sheet and you're going to be like, oh, here you go, Jen, here's this information that you just asked for. Super easy. I've had situations where Day did not track the number of shifts. So I had to manually go into the calendar and count every service shift and how many people were at them so that I could get volunteer hours, because we have to report those every year. It was not fun. So track everything. That is the lesson here.
Something to add.
Yes.
One thing that we do every year is we have an annual report that goes out. And if you tracked everything, when somebody emails you and asks you for all the information for the annual report, it's right there. Sometimes it's also in your LRF. So please be kind to the person that should have just looked in your LRF, but it's just asking over email. But you have it, so no big deal. But that will happen too. It doesn't matter how much information you put out there, as long as you have it and somebody asks for it. It just is really helpful. And I can tell you from experience that this is super great at the beginning, and by the end it gets a little bit daunting and
Yeah.
like a little bit, you don't feel like doing it anymore, but it is worth it. And also if you track all the members' hours, then they can get like a thing from the Bidens at the
Yeah,
end
you
of the
get
year.
a special
And a
pin. You get a special pin and a special
Some people like
letter
that
from
stuff.
President Biden.
Yeah.
And he's like, yay, you're the best because you did volunteer work. Cool. And that is actually a great reminder for all of you. If your chair has not asked you for your hours yet, tell them how many volunteer hours you've done this year. Volunteer hours in the junior league are not just the service shifts. It is everything that you have done that is league related. Would you like to know how many hours I have this year? It's insane.
I just saw your number and it was not cool.
It's not. 25 hours a week times 52 weeks. I had 1,300 hours. I'm definitely getting the gold award this year. Very exciting. But yes, please track all of your hours. It's the hours that you spent driving to the junior league office. It's the meetings that you go to, all of that. Track them. We want to celebrate you. We want to get you those pins and feel great about yourself. I have 2 from President Obama and 1 from President Biden. I didn't submit my hours for other years. Okay, we're moving on to Jackie's favorite slide. I'm going to let Jackie talk about this one.
Why do I like the leadership reporting form so much? I don't know.
Oh, did somebody try to? Was that you, Kyla? Were you trying to talk?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I know I'm not having the best experience because I'm stuck in my dang car, but I was curious about what the LRF, but I think it's the leadership reporting form. I was over talking someone that I think answered my question.
Oh,
yes, it is the leadership reporting form.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. So the leadership reporting form is a document that you fill out every month and it sends to management council and the board. And it is about what is, as the slide says, what's going on in your committee. You know, we're not there. Management council and the board members are not there, but we need to know what's going on. And it really helps us know what is working and what is not. And so where we need to step in or where everything is hunky-dory. You know, and as Jen put here, like, don't use lingo. I just did. See, I said LRF, like everybody knew what it meant, but really it was a leadership reporting form. So which was not crystal clear and can get confusing. So for Northwest Art, I was trained by a now outgoing board member as well, Karen, to give as much information as you possibly can in the LRF. Like, I felt like I was writing a 10-paragraph paper for my thesis every month, but it was super easy because I always tracked everything. And after every meeting, I would just write down all the stuff that we're doing, and then I would just dump it into the document. That way you're never caught on your heels. It's easier for you. And that way the board and management council know what's going on, and they can react to any issues that you're having, or the opposite, react to how great you're doing. Without that, we just don't know. There's there's hundreds of people in this league. We don't know what everybody's doing all the time. So this is your chance. This is your chance. Jen said that in her monthly email, she gave shout outs. That's in here too. And that's how people get recognized for all the work that they're doing. Because again, a chair and vice chair might know, but if they don't tell anybody, they might not get recognized. And, that's an important aspect of being a volunteer, is being acknowledged. At least I feel like that. So yeah, I just think it's so important, because that's how our league runs. That's how we run it well. And if you don't turn it in, Sarah's going to kind of track you down and annoy you. No offense, until you do it. She might as well just do it anyway.
It's true. It's true. I want to talk about this last one here, the call a spade thing. So I put that in with a very specific example in mind that I'm going to tell you now. So our Touch a Truck committee this year, they had a lot of issues, and they ended up pulling off a phenomenal event, and it was the best Touch a Truck we've ever had, but it was a very bumpy road to get there. Now, in their leadership reporting forms every month, they were saying, everything is good. We're just having trouble with procurement. And I was kind of like, procurement. Like, usually when we say procurement, we're talking about like goodie bags or like swag stuff that is going to get donated to, Luna Fest or the wine walk that's coming up. So when I was reading that, I was kind of like, okay, that's weird. Like, we don't need to worry about this. It's not a thing. I didn't find out until March that procurement meant trucks. They had not secured their trucks, and their event was Touch a Truck. So this is why we're saying to use words that mean exactly what you mean, because I would have jumped in and called every truck in Seattle in January if I had realized that. And part of that was on me. Like, I shouldn't have just like waved it off. I should have called somebody and been like, what are you talking about here? But that is to say, tell us exactly what you need, because we want to help you. We want you to succeed, but we can't do that if we don't know what's going on, or if there's a miscommunication and we don't understand. It ended up that as soon as we figured that out, the entire event got turned around, and it, like I said, it did phenomenal. So it was great, and it was a happy ending. But please just make sure that when you're telling us things that you say exactly what you mean. All right. Moving along. Okay, let's have a group share tour. Let me just pull it up really quick. And Kyla, I am recording this, so I know you're stuck in your car right now, but you'll be able to watch it later if you need to. Okay.
I also know you're recording it, but will you be able to share your PowerPoint?
I will, yeah.
Okay,
And I will also, I've made a document that has all the links.
Making notes, but it just would be helpful.
Yeah, no problem. I also have a document that has all the links, so I will share that as well. Just don't fill out the Century survey because you're not on Century. Okay. Here's Management Council. Okay. All right. Share screen. So I wish I still had access to Jen today, because it would have been more interesting to show you. But all right, so here's what a group share looks like. Has everybody here seen this year, or are we mostly provisionals? I don't know. What's the pulse?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so there's some familiarity. Okay, when you are a leader, your main situation that you're going to be looking at is this column here where it has administrative actions. This is where you go to email everybody on your committee. See, all of their names just pop right up, and you can send an email to everybody. Now, when you first want to look to see who is on your committee, you're going to scroll down here where it says members, and then you can see everybody who is on your committee. You will be able to see who they are on June 1st. That is when Digital Cheetah rolls over. So that is when you'll be able to see, pending that it doesn't break, because we're switching to points and we're kind of afraid. Yeah.
Can you show from the homepage how you get to group share? Because I know we have
yes.
these 3 provisionals, so they may not have seen how to navigate here.
Excellent. Okay, so here I am on my homepage, and then I scroll down here to where it says my groups. And I was just in management council, but this time let's look at the board. Actually, no, let's not do that because I'll get in trouble. Let's look at JLS leaders. Okay, so that is how you get to your group share. Whatever committee you're on, it will say the committee name and you just click on it. And then here's where you go. So here are all the leaders right here. And then here are all the members. That's how you see who is on your committee. I was talking about hours before. So when you want to go to hours, you just click hours right there. And then you can put the number, like I'm just put stuff in, and then you just click, I think it's save at the bottom. You just click save, and then their hours are input. When you, let's see. Okay, so if you click calendar, this will show you when your committee meeting is every month. And how you add a committee meeting is you just go down here to add event. And please don't like be overwhelmed. I'm just like giving you a quick tour, but like people will show you how to do this. So don't feel like you need to have everything memorized right now. And you can put in the start and end time, event location, event description, all that stuff. You click save. And then after that, it will send an automatic email to everybody on your committee and they can RSVP for your meeting. Over here is discussion. This is where, I mean, it's not super, you're not really going to have discussions on group share. Like it's not great. We do this mostly in the board, I think, but otherwise I would say you probably want to just use something like Slack, which I think Sarah set up Slack. So I would just use Slack. But it's there if you want to have an all committee discussion. If you want to be alerted anytime that a new discussion comes up, you just click here to go to subscribe to the nightly updates. So I'm already subscribed to it here. So it says click here to unsubscribe, but for you, it will say click here to subscribe. And then that way, every single day, you would get an email that says, hey, this discussion happened. So then you can go check it out. Again, it's not great. So
I think if you don't do that, then you get it every time,
oh, really?
or you don't get it at all. Maybe you
I think you don't get, I
it.
think you don't get it at all if you don't subscribe.
Right. So you just completely miss everything. So definitely.
Yeah. So subscribe to that. People
No,
mostly,
I think you could maybe pick how often you get it.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. So that might be the case.
Yeah. Go ahead and subscribe to it though, because you want to make sure that you're hearing from your committee. But again, don't really recommend it for discussions. Files though, this is the most important part of your group share. So in this particular one, the JLS leaders one, we don't put a ton because this is for all leaders. You're going to see more stuff in an individual committee, but this is actually, I'm going to show you management council because I know there's more things in there and I think that would be more helpful. Videos in the way. Why is it being so slow? Okay. Management council. Yeah, see, we have 68 files in management council, way more. So our secretary Maria has everything sectioned off. So we've got a spot for agendas, for our retreat, for meeting notes, all that stuff. When you click it, then you see all of the documents saved right here. When I was saying before that we want you to download all your most important documents from your Google Share or Google Drive or whatever, put them in here. And the reason why you want to put them in here is if you see up here where it says 2021, 2022, if you click that, look at that. It goes all the way back to 2010, which is, I believe, when we first started using Digital Cheetah. And so this way, you have access to every year since 2010, and you can go back and look at what they did. And so that way you can look at their files. And if you're missing something, or if you just want to see how they did it, you can do that. So that is why we ask you to please put everything in group share, because it will stay here forever and somebody might delete a Google Drive. So please, at the end of the year, make sure you do that. Are there any other questions right now on group share? Or Sarah, is there anything else you think that is important to show them?
I don't think so. I think you covered the biggest highlights of the group shares. And then, like she said, we'll go into detail and there'll be other people to help as you get into it when the year's
Okay. The other thing I want to call out, since we're showing you stuff right now, and they'll definitely talk a lot about this at the leadership retreat. So right here where it says resources, this is your friend. So there's a lot of information here that you can find. So first off, leadership. Let's say that you're on annual fundraisers, but you want to work with Northwest Art because you want to do a fundraiser for Northwest Art. You would come to leadership and click the current year's leadership, so 2021, 2022, and it has everybody's name and their email address. So this is how you find other chairs and vice chairs if you need to talk, because maybe you want to collaborate, maybe you have a question, whatever it is. That's where you go to find who the other leaders are. You could also do the JLS leaders group share. That's another option. Another thing that's pretty important would be finance and treasury resources. So if you click that right here, this is your friend right here, check request. That is where the check request form is. Anytime that you buy materials for your committee or like for your events or whatever it is that you're doing, you want to fill out the check request and you want to send it to accounting@Junior League Seattle. Don't worry about that right now. They're going to talk about it at the retreat. I'm just like prepping you so that you remember. This is how you will get reimbursed, and you want to do that because nobody wants to be out money. If, however, you're the type of person, this used to happen all the time. Some people are like, oh, I don't want to fill out a check request form because that's just annoying. And like, I just consider it a donation. The thing is that we also have to track donations. So if you really don't care about the money and you don't care about being reimbursed, you still have to fill out a form. That form is the JLS in-kind donation form. So either way, you have to do a form, might as well get paid, right? Check request right there. Anything else here? This is also where they post the financial reports every month. So if you ever are like, oh, I wonder how much budget we've used because I've been forgetting to track something, you could click on any of these and you could see where your committee is financially and how much money you have left.
Tracking thing, as the chair, you are responsible for the budget for your committee. And tracking all of that, you have to approve all the check requests anyway. So I would suggest that when a check request comes in, you like put it in some kind of form so that you can track it and then compare it to the financial reports.
Yes.
And on just your line item, you don't have to look at everybody's line item, just your line item to make sure that invoices are going to get paid if they need to get paid, or your members are going to get paid. Because sometimes things, can slip through the cracks or, not happen in a timely manner, who knows? And as the chair, you are responsible for the budget. So don't just, send through the check request and assume it's going to be okay. You should check that every month as well.
Yes. And you are responsible for the budget. Don't be anxious about that though. It's really it's not difficult. Like, just as Jackie said, just track it. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It's not something that I want any of you to worry about. Okay, let me get back into the slides. Oh, marketing support. I forgot to show you marketing support. Okay. If you want something to go in the e-blast or you want something to go on social media for your committee, you're going to come to resources again, and then you're going to go communications and marketing. Then you're going to go marketing support request form. Click that. And then here you can put in all of the information about your event, and you can tick all the boxes for whatever you want them to do, whether it's, put it on the public website. If it's a ticketed event, you can do all of that here. This actually reminds me that I need to create one of these for our new website. Don't listen to me, but yes. Okay, any questions on that? Basically, the resources tab is your friend. If you have questions, this is a great place to start. If your question is money related, you're going to go to finance and treasury. If you want to know about, actually membership resources is where our operations guidelines is going to be soon. And that is basically the FAQs of the league. So any questions that you have about your membership or that your committee members have about their membership, it will be in that document and it will be under here. Again, they'll talk about it at the leadership retreat, so don't worry about it now. But yeah, resources, a lot of good stuff there. Okay. All right, additional information to help dispel any myths. So you cannot use your budget on your committee. So you can't buy gifts for your committee. You can't buy food for meetings. Now, in the pre-pandemic days when we would meet at the office, how most committees did it was we would have a sheet that everybody on the committee would pass around and you'd take turns and everybody would sign up for a month. And then like one person would bring food and then another person would bring, drinks, and another person brought, plates and whatever. If you're having an in-person meeting and you want to have dinner, that's awesome. It's a great way for your committee to bond, but you cannot spend your committee budget on that. Your committee budget is just for the work that your committee is responsible for. Another big thing is that we do not assist other organizations with their fundraisers. You can't even write thank you notes after an event. That was a service shift that I did one year and I didn't get in trouble, but they were mad at me. So don't do that. No fundraisers of any kind. We can't help with them, unfortunately. And it's always sad because, one of our partners like Page Ahead or something like that, they'll be like, oh, we really need volunteers to come help us at this event. It's fundraising related. We can't do it. You can, however, attend other fundraising events as an individual person, but you are not representing the Junior League of Seattle. Usually the president or the EVP or whoever, they would be the ones that would do that. So do not work on fundraisers for other organizations. The next thing I want to talk about is the marketing aspect. Marketing has always been a struggle in the league because it is work that never ends. And we have a lot of teams that wait until the last minute, and on, the e-blast goes out on Thursday and on Tuesday, they'll come and be like, we want this in the e-blast. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that first, that has to go to the marketing team. So somebody on the marketing team has to see it. They have to put it in a tracker to get approved. So when it's getting approved, it has to be approved by me, by the director of communications, and by the president. And so even though like your thing might be important, you're really like making it stressful for a lot of people. Like there's at least 5 people that have to approve your communication before it can go out. So please do it at least 2 weeks in advance. The deadline for the e-blast is a little bit more flexible. That one is due by Sunday. So as long as you send something to the e-blast alias by Sunday, it will go in the next e-blast. If you meet in person at the office, as I said before, make sure that you contact whoever. We haven't figured it out yet, but there will be a person that is in charge of scheduling rooms at the office. Check with them so that you get the right time. And if you have dinner with your committee, just make sure that you clean up after yourselves, because we don't have people in the office every day. So it gets gross in there, especially in the summer, real bad. If you're having issues with a member, like they're not showing up, they're not helping, or like maybe there's a personality conflict, anything like that, reach out to the active advisor, because they are going to be the mediator of that, and they're going to work with the membership team and they will contact the appropriate people. basically like your job as chair, like you got to try to engage people, but if they don't meet you halfway, like, I mean, there's nothing else you can do, right? So like, don't take it personally. Every committee has at least one person who does not respond. So it's not you, don't worry about it. Just push it off to the active advisor. We just have 2 slides left and we're coming up on time. So COVID considerations. You are allowed to meet at the office again. And as I said, we will be updating the room request procedure, so stay tuned on that. You get to decide if virtual or in-person is best. I would make that be part of your survey and find out how people feel about that. Let them have a say in it. And we encourage hybrid options. We really miss being in person. And I think a lot of people miss that connection. But again, like if everybody on your committee is like, you know what, I prefer to meet virtually because, you know, I have kids or I work late or whatever the reason is, you can do that. Just make sure that you have some sort of in-person social option, like every other month, let's say. It's just very important that you include your committee on that. And like I said, the survey, it's going to help you out. Please do a survey. Jackie, anything to add on that?
No, I did want to mention that you don't have to have your meetings at the office. We often, and this is totally COVID dependent, which is why I'm bringing it up now. In the past, we kind of like rotated, you know, going to like apartment buildings, community rooms or people's homes, to, you know, have everybody come there instead. Sometimes the office is not exactly central. So don't feel like you have to go there. But you also don't want to like, impose on people if they don't want to have it. It's just an option. It's not a must. But yeah, again, COVID, you know, no, not everybody wants, you know, 20 people in their house every Tuesday, once a month, you know. So you just, you know, see how your team wants to do it. You know, maybe it's somebody's community room every month. It seems pretty easy. So, you know, do what you want.
Yeah, we've also met at on Done in a Day, we met at the public library a couple of times just because we wanted to have a cool room. So it's up to you. You get to choose your own adventure. All right, that is the training. So I would love to open it up if you have any questions. If you are like, wow, you just terrified me and I have feelings, you can tell us those feelings. I always have a lot of feelings, so it would not faze me if you want to talk about feelings. Any questions?
Can I add one quick thing on the last point y'all just made?
Yes.
I would encourage y'all, whatever survey you use, if it's Google Forms or SurveyMonkey or whatever, make it anonymous. So that way, if someone isn't comfortable meeting in person, they don't feel obligated to go along with the group, so that they can answer how they truly feel.
Thank you, Sarah. Does anybody have any questions about anything we've gone over, or is there anything else you would like us to show you?
So I know you touched on doing the meetings within group share and whatnot. I'm sure are they going to go over this in the leadership retreat, but I know we have to order Zoom links and whatnot put in requests for those and stuff. So is that going to be like just part of the training later then?
Likely, that's gonna depend on, so we used to have a director of administration. This is the last year that we have that position, and it is moving to the operations committee next year. So it's kind of right now, it's a matter of we have to figure out what the new procedure is going to be. So we'll hopefully have that the first week of June, and then you can we'll have a process by which you can do that. Worst case scenario, talk to your manager will figure it out for you. We have I think, yeah, we have a Zoom account for each wing. And so they probably already have the login. And if you just like need to get in, they'll give you the login and you can do that. But yeah, we still have to get that procedure. And as soon as we do, Sarah, who has taken over my job, she's going to do that.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, Jen. I have a quick question. I've taken a lot of notes, but it's been a long day. So
Of course.
what I would like to do is kind of write down a list of what are you hoping to have us do before the leadership retreat.
Okay.
So it sounds like you'd like us to, if we haven't heard from them already, reach out to the current leadership
Yes.
of our committees, to meet with them and get the transition document, get their contact information, and then sort of ask those questions about Rockstar committee members and how to access the group share and the documents and the logins and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And then are you hoping we'll meet with the incoming team before then as well? Or are there other items that you want to have on our radar before then?
Yeah. So before the leadership retreat, exactly what you said, talk to the outgoing team. You ideally would want to have the whole incoming team go to that meeting so that everybody's on the same page. If that can't happen though, and it's just you and the outgoing team, that's okay. Just see if it's possible to have a meeting with your new leaders before the retreat. But if it's just not possible, it's okay. If the first time that you meet is at the retreat, we do have time for that. It's okay. I strongly encourage you to do it beforehand because it will just make your life easier. The last thing I would say is to just send a quick welcome email to your new committee the first week of June. And it can just be, welcome to the committee. We're getting set up. Here is the survey. Let me know when you want to meet. And then that way they have heard from you. You don't have to have all the answers, but they've heard from you. They know that you exist. They know that there is somebody that they can talk to if they have questions or concerns. Those are the big ticket items before the retreat. Don't worry too much about planning other than letting your committee, your new leaders know when you know that you won't be available, because you're not really going to be able to plan until you get that work plan at the retreat.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, so I have another question about if the thing doesn't roll over until June 1st in the system, how do you know who else is on your team with you?
Well, so you'll know who the leaders are because we've announced it. And you can email me and I can get you in touch if you can't find the list. Okay. That's not a problem. You will not be able to see who's on your committee though, but you do have access to who is a leader with you. Actually, you know what? Your best bet would be to talk to nominating. So just send either Kim or Christina Postlethwaite an email and just say, hey, I'm on this committee. Can you tell me who the other leaders are? And they will connect you. And they also are going to know more up-to-date information about new leaders that they've placed. I don't find out until after.
Okay.
So yeah, so go to them first. But again, you will not be able to see who your committee members are yet.
Right. I just didn't know who else was on my team with me, as leader with me. So that's why.
Yeah. Just reach out to Kim or Christina, and Sarah just put their emails in the chat.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thanks.
One thing you can include in your welcome email as well for members who may be eager to get started. And we have on June 16th, 2 days before the leadership retreat, or sorry, is it the 14th? I got confused. Whatever that Thursday is. Yeah, the 16th. We'll have a speaker to kick off the leadership retreat that will happen that weekend, and all members are welcome to attend that. So if they are eager to attend something, whether they're a leader or not, you could help advertise that event for that speaker. And those are both posted as save the dates on the calendar for next year.
And one thing I want to reiterate too is because we are rolling over to the point system and we are having to change our entire Digital Cheetah system, there might be weirdness on Digital Cheetah the first week of June. Don't worry too much about it. We will communicate out if we see anything. But yeah, I just don't want you to freak out if things aren't working and you're like, oh God, I have to email my committee. Don't worry about it. It's okay. I want you to have all of the tools you need to be successful, but things don't always work out in an ideal way. So it'll be okay. That's the one thing I would like to impart to you, is that it's going to be okay.
This has been great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Any other questions before we head out? I will be sending out the deck and those links that I shared this evening. But if there's anything else, please feel free to contact any of us at any time. Like there's always weirdness because they're like, oh, you're the EVP, or oh, you're the president. Like, I can't talk to you. Like, we're normal people. So please talk to us. It's fine. All right.
Thanks.
Well, I'm going to stop recording.